If your business is in the cloud, you know the feeling, right? The power is incredible, but the costs, they can feel like a runaway beast. Well, today, we're going to talk about how to tame that beast. We're breaking down FinOps, the framework that brings real financial accountability to the cloud. Does this question hit a little too close to home? You know the drill. The monthly cloud bill shows up, and it's a complete surprise. Just a black box of charges you can't really decipher, let alone control. You know you're using the cloud to innovate and move fast, but you've got that nagging feeling that you're also just lighting money on fire. And that feeling, it comes from a simple paradox. The absolute magic of the cloud is how easy it is to use. An engineer can spin up a server with a single click. But that same power, when you multiply it across an entire organization, makes the spending incredibly difficult to track, to forecast, and to get a handle on. Okay, so this chart right here, this shows you the core of the issue. That first bar, that's everything you've provisioned, all the cloud resources you're paying for. The second bar is what your team's actually used. And that third bar, well, that gap between what you paid for and what you used, that's pure waste. It's the cost of service sitting idle, of over-provisioning, and it's exactly what FinOps is designed to hunt down and eliminate. So if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's a framework called FinOps. It's short for financial operations. And you should think of it as a whole new operating model for the cloud, one that's built from the ground up around financial accountability. So what is FinOps, really? It's not some tool you can just buy off the shelf or a single team you hire. It's a cultural practice. It's all about getting your finance people, your tech people, and your business leaders all speaking the same language. The goal is so they can collectively make smart decisions and trade-offs between cloud speed, cost, and quality. And this shows the fundamental shift in mindset. You know, traditional cost-cutting is always reactive and top-down. A budget gets frozen, innovation grinds to a halt, and your engineers get totally frustrated. FinOps is different. It's proactive and collaborative. The goal isn't just to slash costs. It's about helping teams deliver better products faster and more efficiently. It's about finding that perfect sweet spot between speed and spend. This whole proactive approach really rests on a few key principles. It has to start with a culture of collaboration and shared ownership. Your engineers need to think about cost, and your finance team needs to understand the engineering goals. Then, all of this is powered by data-driven decisions and a constant focus on getting better. And, maybe most importantly, every single decision gets tied back to business value. That's how cloud spend stops being just an expense and becomes a strategic investment. Okay, so that's the philosophy. But what does FinOps actually look like day to day? Let's dive into the mechanics and the continuous lifecycle that's really at the heart of this whole practice. The FinOps lifecycle isn't a project with a start and end date. It's a continuous, repeating loop. You start by planning, using data to forecast your needs and set budgets. Then you optimize by actually implementing cost-saving measures. To make it all stick, you govern by setting clear policies. And finally, you track your progress. And here's the key part. All that data from tracking feeds right back into the next planning cycle. So the whole process gets smarter and more efficient every single time. And this quote really sums up the central idea perfectly. FinOps is not about being cheap. It's about being effective. The real goal is to maximize the business value you get from every single dollar you spend in the cloud, turning that cloud bill into a powerful and predictable return on your investment. So, what does that optimize phase actually involve? This chart breaks down the heavy hitters. Right sizing is usually the biggest piece of the pie, just making sure your resources aren't way bigger than they need to be. Next up is leveraging discounts through commitments and reservations. Then you've got automation for things like scaling resources up and down automatically. And finally, optimizing services to make sure you're always using the right tool for the job. So who does all this work? Well, FinOps is a team sport, and that responsibility is shared across the board. It really starts with cloud architects designing cost-effective infrastructure from day one and cloud developers writing efficient code. Then you have FinOps engineers who monitor and optimize day to day, and it's all guided by a FinOps manager who oversees the entire program. It really does take a village. All right, so how does an organization actually get started on this path?
It's not a switch you can just flip overnight. It's definitely a journey. Let's take a look at how companies mature, moving from that reactive firefighting mode to a real strategic advantage. This journey typically follows 4 stages of maturity. Most companies start out at level 1, totally reactive, just responding to budget fires after they've already started. Then they mature to level 2, becoming proactive by using some basic optimization tools. At level 3, they're truly optimized with a dedicated team and mature processes. But the ultimate goal is a level 4, strategic. That's where FinOps stops being about just saving money and starts being about driving business goals and fueling innovation. And the results? They are very, very real. Case studies show that companies who really implement these FinOps practices and optimize their cloud resources typically see cost reductions of around 20%. That's a huge saving that you can then reinvest right back into growing the business. It's not just some theoretical benefit, it's real money. And this, right here, this is the ultimate payoff. This is what it's all for. You finally move beyond just trying to control costs. Every single dollar spent in the cloud becomes a strategic investment tied directly to a business outcome. Your cloud spend transforms from this mysterious, ever-growing expense into a predictable, efficient engine for growth. And that brings us to the final question. Thinking about that maturity model we just looked at from reactive all the way to strategic, where does your organization stand right now? Are you still fighting fires after the fact, or are you starting to use your cloud spend as a strategic lever for innovation? It's a really important question to ask as you look to master your own cloud financial future.